Tim Graham and Friends is brought to you by CTBK, CPAs and business consultants. CTBK is a leading accounting firm with a growing team of accountants and business consultants with roots in Amherst, New York. CTBK pairs every project with a focus on a human connection between its team and the client. For assurance, accounting, taxes, litigation support, and advice on mergers and acquisitions, CTBK is available and ready to solve any issue your business faces. For a consultation or to request a quote, call 716-630-2400. Again, that's 716-630-2400. CTBK, over a quarter century of proven accounting and business excellence for Western New York and beyond. Okay, we're joined on Tim Graham and Friends, brought to you by CTBK, here by Marcel Louis-Jacques from ESPN. And with what's been going on, it's been such a important topic here in Western New York. So I figured we'd just have him on to discuss. So Marcel, we'll just get right into it. The idea that the general manager was behind the bench last night, that had to be a shock to you.
Yeah, the Birds have been pretty disappointing.
The Sabres have just, what's left to say?
When you've got a generational talent like Jack Eichel that's just not producing, and it seems like the rest of the team has not recovered from this Ralph Kruger disaster, it just seems like a lost year in a year that's a season so many people needed hope and inspiration. You really hate to see it up here.
Yeah, and look, you're here in Buffalo. You heard so much about how important hockey was. You move here, and then you just haven't had a chance to experience it. I really feel for you and your inability to get into this hockey stuff. All right, I don't want to be too facetious. I don't want to be too flippant about it, but break the tension a little bit. And it's tension. I don't want to speak for Matthew or for Jonah, but it's clearly not nearly as much tension for me. But this was the network that I used to work for. Well, again, let me clarify. I didn't work for Cumulus. My show was on Cumulus. I had to take the show off of Cumulus for something that we'll get into here, and why I think that we have some notes to compare. But without further ado, or I guess without me giving too much back, I don't know how much I really need to set up what occurred. But I guess for the sake of, for those who may be tuning in and don't know the full story, 97 Rock's morning show, which is a morning zoo style, old school morning radio deal, had a bit, for lack of a better word, from its comedian co-host, talking about how the appropriate level of toasting your bread compared to the appropriate attractiveness of Black women's skin. You posted this audio, and had it not been posted, nothing probably happens. So I don't know. I'll just leave it here for you to lay it out, and I'll not interrupt you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, because I'm sure people are going to see this and say, "Whoa, why'd you ignore my?" I've gotten a lot of people asking me to talk about this story, and I don't want to be any more part of this story than I have to be. I'm doing this specifically because I kind of lashed out at you yesterday, and without kind of thinking it through, or maybe even calling you offline. So that's on me. A little on edge over the past couple of days. So I'm glad we get the opportunity to
worries,
clear the air here. But
I didn't take offense, man, and I'll apologize for my part, because in my haste in responding to a specific tweet, I agreed with a little part of it, but it made it seem as though I was agreeing with the whole thing. And in a vacuum, you're absolutely right. I just had a bunch of other tweets out there, and you were getting hammered with thousands of things. You couldn't have possibly said, I'm going to go look at Tim Graham's feed and get the entire picture. So no, but thank you for coming on to talk about it. I thought that I wanted to have you on because we have a little, like I said, some notes to compare. But also because you are probably would like an outlet to respond to everybody rather than just because you're getting hit with some accusations, or a lot of people are upset with you. But all right, I said I wasn't going to interrupt.
No, but like, yeah, there are, there are people who they're blaming cancel culture. They're saying, okay, here comes the mob again about internet justice. But like, to really understand it, I think we got to go back to last year. And I went on Morning Bull last year as, basically a favor to Bobby Rosati, who's I believe the show's producer. I knew him from your show. He said he moved on to a different one, asked me if I was interested. I said, okay. And, right off the top, I got see your last name, where are you from? It's like, California. No, but like, where are you from? Like, see your last name. And it was Rob kind of insisting, he wouldn't get the idea out of his head that I wasn't French. And so when I finally said, yeah, my dad is from Haiti, it's like, oh, I didn't know Haiti was French. It's like, no, Haiti is Haitian. And just kind of stopped talking from there. Like, I didn't even realize we were on the air. I thought this was like pre-interview ramble, but they thankfully moved on. Bull actually moved the conversation along, asking about Josh Norman. I gave this, 45-second standard response about Norman. Bull responds to what I said, and Rob comes back and interrupts and says, your English was wonderful. I listened to everything you said and it was perfect. And it's like, dude, it's 8 a.m. I really don't need this right now. Rich controlled the rest of the interview, but Rob also ended it by asking me to name my all ESPN quarantine team, because in his words, I got a lot of smoking hot coworkers that he wouldn't mind being quarantined with. He wants to know who I would think, would make a good team. And, I've just never been, I do a lot as you do, as I know Matt does. You do a lot of radio interviews. I've never really experienced that. I don't know if, I guess that's their shtick. I had no idea. I just wanted to talk about the Bills. But, Bobby texted me afterwards and said, sorry about Rob busting your chops. He's a comedian. He just wants to be funny. I told him, like, I didn't find it funny. Like, I don't need to do this. I don't need to be here. I don't need to be talked to like that. I'm not coming back on. Like, I made it very clear that it was his fault. I went to ESPN. I went to HR. I had them reach out. They made it clear that we would not be returning. No ESPN employee would be returning to the show. So it's not like they didn't know that interview was a problem. Like, we went through the proper channels. I also, during our golf tournament this summer, I was paired up with Bull Fairburn. You were in our group too. You saw, we talked it out. And by all accounts, I think Rich is a good guy. I think he's a decent guy. I don't have any reason to believe like he's a bad person, but I made it clear to him that I'm not going back on your show because of this person. I made it clear, like, this person is a problem on your show. Like, you're going to go down with him eventually if something's not done. And I can't remember the timeline, if it was before or after that tournament, that like I was repeatedly, multiple times asked to go back on. And again, made it clear, this is the reason why. This guy is the reason why I'm not returning. But I didn't want to make a bigger deal out of it than that. I had the screenshots, I had the recordings, I sent them to my family, and I had to reel my mom back in from hammering that station. Basically, I had to keep her away from the airport from flying out here. I had to keep my dad away. I had to tell my girlfriend at the time, like, just, I'll handle it. It's fine. Told a couple other reporters around here, but like, they all agreed just to let it die down. And in my opinion, clearly that didn't work. That was a year ago, almost a year ago to the day of Rob's comments on what was it, Wednesday? It was almost, I went on March 20th and it happened on March 24th, I believe. So this time around, it just felt like, all right, like I guess more people need to be angered by it. Like, more people need to hear it. And I first saw it on Instagram. I wasn't even aware of it because I don't listen to the show, but I heard a clip of it on Instagram. And because of my previous experience, I know that they put their shows online. So I found the segment in question, listened to it through, and clipped it and posted it. And, you know, I went back and forth on it for a little bit, I guess, because nobody, you know, there's that, I said that old saying, but there's a saying that there's a person of the day on Twitter every day, and you don't want to be it. So like, I want to be, I don't even want to be person of the day adjacent on Twitter. It's stressful. It happened. We dealt with it last year. I dealt with it last year when I commented on Jake Fromm's situation. It produces unnecessary anxiety. So I went back and forth, but like ultimately it just was, I figured, all right, if I've heard this man's voice 2 times in my life, and both times he said something racist, sexist, misogynistic, derogatory, then how many more times has it happened that nobody's caught or that nobody posted, that nobody, like, I think it's pattern behavior. I think it's a lack of accountability at the station. I think my complaint fell on deaf ears, and I don't think they took it seriously. And I think they took it seriously now. And so like Rob, you know, I don't love the fact that Rich lost out on other opportunities. I want that to be clear. Like, this wasn't a headhunt. And I didn't, at no point did I ever say 97 Rock needs to fire everybody, I thought they should have got rid of Rob, but like, I didn't say these people should never work again. I just kind of presented the information and left it there. But the apology, I've read the apology, you tagged me in the apology, like I saw it. And I know the mature thing to do is to accept it. And, you know, I want to believe he means what he says. Like, and if he has reached out to certain people in certain communities to better himself, then that's ultimately what we want at the end of the day. Like, there's 2 types of people. There's people who want to find a solution, people who want to complain. I want there to be a solution. So like, I'm happy for him if that's true. But I mean, a bunch of people knew I had a big problem with my interview on that show last year. It was clearly not hard to find my phone number within that station. I didn't get a call, a text, an email, a telegram, a letter. I got no recognition from Rob or really anybody else on the show that I felt. I mean, Bobby said, "Oh man, sorry to hear that. Bulls, you know, man, that I had no idea." But I got nothing from Rob after that. And that was when it was handled privately. So like, now that it's public and the apologies coming out and the regret and the remorse is coming out, like, I don't know. I don't feel a massive need to respond beyond what I'm doing right now. Like, I hope that he learns from it. I hope that, you know, he's able to kind of rewire how he thinks, if he really wants to. If he doesn't, then I'm not, you know, be who you are, be who you want to be. But I just wanted to be very clear. Like, people think, you know, I saw somebody say, because I'm a masochist sometimes, so like, I've read comments. I saw somebody say, you know, the cure, you can guess what they look like. The cure for racism is real conversations, not I'm paraphrasing, not laying everything out on the internet. It's like, I'm glad that you have such like a rose-colored view of how we fix racism, but private conversation didn't work. So yeah, what am I left with?
Yeah, let's put out a couple of, try to get a couple of factual things in here just for the record, so that way we can have the discussion, refer back to these things as necessary. So when you said ESPN HR reach out to the station, do you know who they spoke with, or
no? And
was it management, or?
I just know that like I reached out, and I reached out right after the interview was over and was basically trying to distance myself from it. Like, I didn't know this was going to happen. Technically, I didn't ask permission to go on, which I'm supposed to do, or I didn't get cleared to go on, which I'm supposed to do. So that was my bad at the end of the day, like at the root of the problem. But
no. Wait, that wasn't the root of the problem.
Well, if I had never gone on, then this, I don't know. Either way,
maybe it was the first domino, but that was not the root of the problem.
yeah, you're right.
Right. I mean,
but they made it clear.
You
ESPN
doing somebody a
to me.
favor should not be considered part of the problem.
ESPN made it clear to me that they'd reach out to the station. I didn't follow up after that.
Gotcha.
Like I said, I just kind of wanted to wipe my hands of it and say, all
Right.
like this sucks, but let's keep pushing. I've referenced it a handful of times. Like when people, Dominique Foxworth made some comments last season and it made people angry. And so I've used that instance to remind people like, no, this isn't as like peachy keen of a area as you've been led to believe. Like it's diverse, but like diverse does not mean racism doesn't exist here. And even if it's not, like I think people associate racism purely with hate. And I don't think they exist in a vacuum. Like I don't think they're mutually exclusive. Like you don't have to be hateful to say something racist. You don't have to mean harm. You don't have to be angry or malicious or violent. Like it can be something as dismissive as calling a woman's skin tone as undesirable as burnt toast. And for everybody, it's gonna be up in arms. I know he didn't literally say those words, but that's essentially what he's saying. Like if a toast is too burnt, like the color of Serena Williams' skin, I will never go to that level. So like it could be as something as that, even if it's a joke. Like shit's not funny, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't always have to be.
And that's a whole nother conversation we'll probably get into. Is that Rob Lederman is just not funny, nor has he ever been. And it's interesting. Offshoot of the discussion that has been on social media the last couple of days is people who angry at the main issue, but then people who are angry that this guy has a job because he's not funny. It's just kind of weird. Like people are like, fine, he sucked anyway. But anyway, another for the record. So, and when was the golf tournament? Because that's a point that I'm gonna mention here. That was August, perhaps?
I think it was June or July.
Yeah, it was either June or July, I think.
Okay. I want to say July.
It was before camp. I know that for sure.
Okay. Because I think I was going to, my sister was getting married back in California, and it was somewhere around that date, and that was middle of June.
Well, the reason I bring this up is because I had a discussion with Rich Gensler that same day. Now, I didn't golf in the tournament because I don't golf, but I showed up later that day to partake in the social aspect of the golf tournament. You had left already. Rich was still there, as were John Warrow, Jerry Sullivan, some photographers. There were a bunch of people there. So they are all kind of witness to this conversation, but I'll take it a step back. So this is how, one of the main, I'm overqualifying. One of the reasons that the Tim Graham show on Sports Radio 1270, The Fan, ceased to be, obviously the pandemic, they shut down the studios. We went on hiatus. I was fully intent upon coming back, as were Matthew and Jonah. But we had, during the break, come across some vile tweets from an account that is by my producer's band. And it's, as far as I was informed, it's a two-man band. And one of the members of this two-man band was my producer, Bobby Rosati. And on this thread was just incredibly obnoxious, obviously trying to be right-wing troll type stuff, tweeting at the county executive, Mark Poloncarz, to suck my asshole. And then tweeting at me a couple of times because I had been pretty vocal during a lot of the social unrest that was going on. And so it was pushing back at me. I then tweeted back at this account, tell Bobby I said hello. The account immediately was locked. And I don't know if it's been disabled. I got an apology from Bobby. Hey, man, I don't know what's going on. I didn't have anything to do with that. Okay, so that's that. So on June 1st, I had sent a heads up to, in fact, I'll read you the tweet. This is to John Hager, who is the program director, I believe, for Cumulus, and who was the guy who oversaw my show. Again, just for the record, I wasn't paid by Cumulus. I had a side deal where they gave me the airtime. I had my sponsorship from CTBK, and then they sold their advertisements. They provided me the producer. Bobby Rosati was not my employee. He was a Cumulus employee. I just got 2 hours a week to come on and talk sports, or 3 or whatever the hell it was. Started off as a deal that the Buffalo News had with Cumulus. And then when I left the Buffalo News, I kept going. So on June 1st at 12:53 p.m., I sent a text saying, heads up that Bobby's banned, and maybe Bobby runs a Twitter account that has been posting a lot of racist and inflammatory shit. I just asked the account to say hello to Bobby for me, and it went private. Here, Bobby, and I put in parentheses, probably has a convo with the county executive, and it's a screen cap from this band that says to Mark Polencars also, suck my asshole. So that's just the one example I sent. I said then in my last, my next text, if you're interested in my show returning, I would ask that he not be my producer. I receive acknowledgement that I'm going to look into this. I say, thank you for bringing this to my attention. I say, you're welcome. And that's the last I heard of it. That is why my show is no longer on Sports Radio 1270 The Fan. And I got tired of waiting for any kind of response. We didn't come back on until, what was it, September. So that's 3 months of no response. At that golf tournament, so I run into Rich, and there's probably going to be a lot of middling when it comes to Rich on this conversation. We can get into that too. I feel awful for Rich. I've known him for many years. I've known him for 20 years. He's an incredible philanthropist. He's been involved in my Make-A-Wish fundraisers. I know the work that he's done with the Bills and charity. And that's how I know Rich, is basically with him giving. And I've never heard him do or say a racist or a controversial thing. But I see him at this golf tournament, and he brings up, hey, and I guess I'm telling tales out of school, but he was devastated by your conversation, Marcel, that you had. He was really bothered by it. And again, we're going to take that a step further. He was really upset. He was mortified. And he explained to me the conversation that you had with him on the golf course, just like you did, matched up. And I said, oh, well, then let me tell you something else. And then I told him what I thought of the producer. And he was equally upset and kind of rocked by it. I had a couple of reporters, I don't want to name names to bring them into it, but they were sitting in on the conversation and said, yeah, Tim's right. You got a problem. So that's now half the show. There are 4 people on the show. That's now 50% of it, in which, all right, so I'll two, I would say, rather prominent members of the local media have a problem with your show that has your name on it. And nothing was done. So I guess this is the part where we get into it. Look, maybe Rich did try to get it done. Maybe he did, and he's handcuffed and he's stuck with these people, because if I went to management and didn't get any response, and ESPN HR went to management and didn't get a response, maybe Rich, and I don't know. I guess that's my hope, is that he did try to, fight the good fight, and just was told, sorry, these are the people you have to work with. So anyway, that's my long preamble of my interaction with this station and some of these people, and who I went to and said, you have an issue here. I don't know. I know Matthew and Jonah, I don't want to, it's just been and I'm also not going to force you to come in and say anything either. But anyways, that's just where I wanted to make it known that this has been brought to their attention, and nothing was done about it.
Yeah, like I said, I think that facet has been,
and that's
maybe
something that I never told Marcel about until yesterday over the phone when I was trying to explain, no, look, I'm on your side here. And that's why I wanted him to come on, and that's to compare these notes. I had never told that story before. I'd never really explained why I left the station. I was hopeful that somebody would get a message at some point, fix a young career, a bright talent, and have these things brought to their attention, and maybe make a correction. But it seems as though there's something in the fibers of what goes on there.
Who's the bright talent?
I think Bobby's very good at what he does on the air.
I think it probably goes to show people that, when you assume that this was the first step, when you assume that public humiliation was the first step, like sometimes it's because trying to be civil and trying to go through proper channels, sometimes it doesn't work. Like that's why, and I really don't remember the account name, but like I'm gonna call it what it is. That's why this white woman who replied to Lederman's comment, and I was tagged in it. It's the only reason why I saw it, saying that the proper way to discuss racism, the proper way to deal with racism is through yada yada. Like you have no idea. I just feel like you have no idea, because so many times that doesn't work. It doesn't work. If it did, we would be past racism by now. Like if we were able to just talk our way out of it, we would be past it all by now, and everybody would be living in harmony. That's just not how this world's worked.
Right before we hit the record button, in fact, you had to delay it for a couple of minutes because Halle Berry retweeted your original tweet that had the audio clip into it, in which she do you have it there? Is it going to be your screensaver for the rest of your life, or what? Do you have it handy?
It's kind of it's extremely bittersweet, because like I'm not so big time that I don't get like a like or a retweet from one of my favorite celebrities and get kind of giddy about it. But at the same time, like this is what she is having to retweet. Like this is how she has come to my profile. This is how she has come to my content, is because she was unfairly compared. Her skin tone was used as a level of a benchmark for attractiveness. And so it's sad. Like there's that moment of like, wow, like, I don't know, it was a lot to take in. It's a moment of like, wow, this is Halle Berry. Then there's, wow, this actually reached Halle Berry. Like, I didn't think people were tagging her and Serena and Gayle King. I was like, there's no way like this is on any of their radars, but like this is a big deal. And it's almost like, I'm hesitant to say validating, but as I said before, I was really back and forth about getting involved into this. But like it just goes to show you, like, this was worthwhile. Like this was a big deal. It was front page of TMZ, front page of Yahoo, nationally. Like people, it mattered to people. It mattered to people. This wasn't just me being angry.
And it's not you chasing a headline or trying to be the story, because in these situations, as you referenced right at the beginning, you're naked in this. You're making yourself very vulnerable. And the price of being, to say, like it's some badge of honor that TMZ picked up my story. All right, big deal. But you are now in the crosshairs of a lot of people, and it's not worth it. I mean, in so many ways, it's not, but it turns out to, like you say, whether or not you want to use the phrase validating. But I did notice, hopefully I'm not putting you on the spot here, but when you first joined the Zoom, you were, I think, emotional. You seemed like you had needed you were taking a moment to recover. Tell me if I'm wrong, but you seem to have been like really like
defensive is kind of defensive, a little hairpin. So like you know, I have.
I mean,
fun
by the Halle
with
Berry,
this
by
site.
Halle Berry's.
Oh yeah, by the
You
Halle
seem
Berry.
like you needed a
But yeah,
moment.
it's just because like it's really like I said, because it's cool to an extent, it's sad to an extent, it's a little frustrating, and then it's a little nerve wracking because it's like, okay, like here comes round 3 of this cycle, to the point where it's probably the best look to just mute the original. So like, I'm just kind of like a little. It was resolved like rather quickly. The whole situation was resolved rather quickly. The advertisers pulled out, host was fired, Rob was fired. You know, everything happened. Which actually, let's put a pin in that real quick, because I do feel like Chris Klein is getting off really scot-free here. But
and Bobby, if Bobby still has a job.
But yeah, it's just because like his name's not attached to it. Like he's not responsible. He knew. But
at least
yeah,
in my
it
experience at that company, the producer posts the stuff online and posts the tweets. And that's, you know, it seems as though this was a predetermined bit in which, because tweets were sent out to tease this segment coming up. Rob's going to talk about Rich's toast. There was those were deleted, but somebody, I would presume the producer, didn't think, or the show after the fact, after it's out of everybody's mouths, didn't say, you know what, maybe we shouldn't post that online. Let's remove that segment. That didn't go as well as we thought.
That's what I'm saying.
Nobody.
How many times has this happened that like just nobody's caught? Like the right person or wrong person in their instance wasn't listening to.
Well, I can guarantee you this was not the worst thing he's ever said.
No, like it can't be. It can't be. It's just like I say. Like I've only heard this man talk 2 times, when I was on and the other day, and both times it was some derogatory, you know, not to be dramatic, but vile stuff coming out. So it's like, there's no way. It's like when, you know, people get caught and I've never done this before, I promise. It's like, no, this isn't the first time you've done it. It's the first time you got caught. So it's but yeah, man, that's yeah, like I said, I needed a second to kind of, you know, process what was about to go down. Because like I said, like it's cool. I don't think any of us are so big time that like if a very well-known person interacts with something we say, that it's not like at the least bit kind of exciting. But like it just opens you up to just a whole different audience. Like, for example, without getting super far into the Jake Fromm stuff, like I commented on Jake Fromm's apology last year, and Jason Whitlock quote tweeted it, basically asking if it was my job to opine on something I'm reporting, which is, I mean, really ironic coming from him. But it, you know, Jason Whitlock's audience. So now I'm opened up to a world of people who see Jason Whitlock's point of view as, well, look, that black guy thinks like I do, so all of you should. And so it's like, I don't want to deal with that. I know that's not Halle Berry's audience, but you know, it's just like the same kind of same concept here, that now it's just in front of more people when it was hopefully starting to die down. But
what has been like what's it been like the last few days? Like, I don't know, emotionally, and just, I can't stand my Twitter mentions most days, and I can't imagine what this was like. And like you said, you had to weigh that while you knew what it was going to do when you tweeted it, and like kind of prepared yourself for the storm. But I can't imagine that makes it any easier.
No, it's like I don't see all of them, but I see a lot of it, and it's just kind of like you can't respond to everything, but you have a response for everything, if that makes sense. And admittedly, that it might have spilled over a little bit into like me actually doing my job. I might snap back at a person a little harder than I usually would if, latest example, if they don't agree with taking a running back in the first round. Like a little more.
We were going to get to that, but
Yeah,
a
little more hairpin.
among your
like a little more hairpin than usual. That's also been a point of frustration, but like not that badly. And just kind of been like, I don't know, like there's just that anxious is the best way to put it. Just because it's like, all right, like what's happening next? And I said before, I really don't like being part of the story. This is the only interview I have done, I'm going to do regarding this thing. There've been a bunch of requests. I don't want to be that big part of a story. But like you just,
and you will not be on this podcast. The 450 people hear it, and it will remain. This is the safest way for you to address it without getting any more attention.
It's nice getting it out. You know, like it is nice getting it out, because like I said, like I'm not just gonna sit here like furiously on my computer responding to everybody. And sometimes it does feel like you're talking to a brick wall. Like people just don't want to listen. Like there's been. It is exhausting. Like last summer was exhausting, man. Like I can appreciate people wanting to learn and people wanting to get better. But like, for instance, there was somebody who maybe didn't mean anything by it, but somebody who genuinely wouldn't grasp why it was offensive to compare burnt toast to Serena Williams' skin. Like what? Like they didn't understand the background behind it,
and with the caveat that it can't be attractive.
Yeah,
there's a limit. There's a limit that you get to where it ceases to be attractive anymore.
And that was, you know, there's been a lot of like, well, why do you care who finds you attractive, or yada yada yada? And like it's something that we deal with. I'm 28. It's something I've dealt with since. I mean, I've got memories in preschool of white kids telling me, no, this is only, you know, no black kids allowed, or, you know, only white people are playing with us. I went to school in California, in Northern California, not even the super North, like the progressive North California. Like we've dealt with this a long time, like forever. It is kind of tiring to have to like continue to say, okay, well, like this is why we're upset. This is why we're angry. And like, and man, don't get me started on the crowd of, you know, what if a black person said this about white women? What if a black man said this comparing different shades of ice cream? It's like, do you know how ridiculous you sound, first of all? But like, why do you want to be a victim so badly? I don't understand that. Like, why people who come back with what if the roles were reversed? What do you want them to be reversed? Like, why do you want that? Well, what about the black person who did this to a white person? Like, why aren't you angrier about that? I don't know what they're going for, but like distracting. I don't know. There's a word for it that it's not coming to my mind right now, but like you're trying to distract from one issue by bringing up another when like both can exist. It's I don't know, man. It's been a long 2 days. Like it's nice to I'm hoping for like a press conference or something today. Like we get Matt Breida or something today, just to like be able to talk football for like a second.
Do you want to talk football now? Or here's the thing is I had a similar experience. Thurman Thomas came in the studio, you know, with my producer sitting there too, which thinking back on it now is interesting. Thurman Thomas came in the studio, I don't know, year and a half ago on my show and talked about bail reform. And we talked about it for pretty much the entire show. And then the intention was to talk the Bills at the end. And then we got to the end and I said, Thurman, can we just end this without, oh, I'm sorry, it was the first hour of the show. I said, Thurman, it doesn't feel right to talk. Now, what do you think about Josh Allen? I mean, can't we just end it? And I think he got a little emotional, actually. He was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not just here because I'm the football guy. I'm not just here. I'm actually here talking about something I care about in bail reform. And it matters to people I know and people I love and people who I feel the need to fight for, that it's not pinned with, all right, now let's get into the, whether they should be blitzing more on third down.
Now that that's out the way, let's get to, like I'm on here. This is what I'm on here to talk about. Don't get me wrong.
You can talk about football somewhere else then. Yeah. I don't want to trivialize this conversation by shoehorning anything other than, of course, Kevin Adams needing to coach. That needed to be addressed at the top.
And I'd like to get Marcel back on, probably spend about an hour on this whole first round running back thing, because C and I are on opposite sides of this issue. And I think we need to hash it out.
I just went on Joe Marino's podcast. The irony is, like, we stopped maybe about an hour or two before they signed Matt Breida, and so softened my argument a little bit. But like
a little bit. I mean, it's not like Matt Breida's,
he's not coming in to be a star.
Lighting it up.
But like
people remember him as a fantasy fill-in 2 years ago. He had a couple good weeks.
First round running back, man. Like I can back the hell up. I can back the hell out of this argument. Like, I'm not just pulling something out of my ass. And I think that the message has been misconstrued a little bit. One, I don't want them to draft Travis Etienne. I don't care actually what they do. This is what I think they should do.
Getting dangerously close to getting into a football conversation, guys.
Can't help it. But either way, yeah. Let's save it for the next pod.
I know that I've obviously dominated this interview because I felt like I had some stuff to get to talk about, and I know I've known Rich for so long. I think that it's fair because something had to happen. Apparently, I just hope that the people who could have done something, and I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know how far things up. That's why I don't know where ESPN HR got. But I hope that the people who were warned of this, are being held accountable, and maybe they are. I don't know. But Jonah, I know that, is there anything you wanted to ask Marcel or a point to make or anything?
We could talk about Marcel's sweatshirt. We've had that conversation on the show before.
The Pyrex Benny.
Yeah, the plugs I met.
Oh, Pyrex. Yeah, man. That's this was one of the pickups of the year last year.
That's a totally different controversial subject, though, because I know where Jonah is going with this.
I like that.
I agree with Jonah. Isn't it a strange bit of marketing for a team to?
It is. It might be a case of, maybe I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak to the sales pitch. It reminds me of when I was in high school. Our girls volleyball coach, bless her heart, Maria Hill. I think she recently retired, but she ordered shirts for their team. I remember carrying them from her car into the gym and unboxing them for her. And she's like, "You guys are gonna love these. Like, they're so clever." And it was a picture of like volleyball in motion with the words "I'd hit that" written across it. I opened the box, read it, and like ran out the gym laughing so hard. Like, I couldn't. She just had no idea what it meant. So it could just be as innocent as that. But
she doesn't have a team of people around that can workshop this stuff. We can get into the whole discussion of needing to workshop something before it comes out of your mouth or before it's on print, rather than just thinking, "Oh, do I have something good for you?" And then unleashing it. Girls volleyball, you say?
That was excellent at Valley Christian Academy. I feel like that would not have tracked if they wore that into a gym.
Did they? So they weren't worn. They weren't distributed.
No, okay, absolutely
somebody
not. Like, the team made it very clear to her, like, "Coach, we cannot wear these. This is not. No, we're teenagers."
Were those shirts then sent off to like shelters or something? Like the people, they make the joke that somewhere in a third world country, there are people walking around who think that the Bills won 4 straight Super Bowls because all that stuff gets discarded.
I would guess that the shirts were returned. I just know that they were never worn. Maybe they got turned into rags, or I am not sure.
That's good.
But for whatever it's worth, my understanding that those kind of shirts are straight up destroyed. The fake championship, whatever shirts, like there's somebody like sworn to secrecy about how he does it, but he destroys any championship gear.
Well, I think that's a later development because people were found, like there are pictures of people, and it's a bad, so the NFL has their brand being shown like, hey, look at this guy shambling down the streets of Managua in his 1992 Bills Super Bowl champions.
I once went to hockey camp with a kid who, I'm trying to remember the team. So his dad was involved in manufacturing of apparel or whatever. And we were all extremely jealous because he had, I believe it was an Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup. Yeah, they lost the Stanley Cup in 05-06, and he had like all the championship gear. He had the hat and the t-shirt. It was like Edmonton Oilers Stanley Cup champs. And we all thought it was the greatest thing because we were 13 years old and losers. But
that's the year the Sabres should have won.
It does get, maybe it's a little bit more recent that they have started to destroy it to limit stuff like kids running around hockey camps thinking the Oilers won. But
all right, Marcel, we've kept you longer than I wanted, but let's anybody else want to say anything or get anything out there, like for the record or a question? Or
I just want to thank Marcel for coming on and talking about it. I mean, it's always like, I can only imagine how the last few days were, and, the added, I never want to make it feel like, and I've had this conversation with Leslie Frazier as well, when you want to talk about these issues, but you don't want to put all the burden on, Marcel or Leslie to be the one that's got to speak for everybody or educate people beyond the work that, we can do ourselves. But I appreciate him coming on and talking about this, sharing how he feels. And, I hope that it opens some eyes to, what goes on in this community, not just this community, a lot of communities everywhere, all over the country. And hopefully people can start to see things with a little bit more of an open mind when it comes from somebody like Marcel, who they love to follow for their Bills content. I think it might hit some people in a different way.
I hope. I want to say, because I know Tim, you didn't love the Buffalo News article, kind of only mentioning myself and Madison Carter. I never felt like singled out or like the blame was pinned, because even if they wanted to pin the blame on me, like it is our, I don't want to say fault, but like it was, we did that. Like we did that. It seems like a lot of people knew of the comments that Rob made on the show, or knew of the things he's been saying from my understanding in the past 30 years. But it took until the second time I heard the show for people to really get angry, for real change to happen, for advertisers to pull out, for jobs to be lost, or suspensions to be doled out. And so like it, like if people want to blame me, if people want to blame Madison, like they can blame me and Madison. They can right. do that. They can because we did that. Like if I didn't say anything about it, I don't know who else would have or could have. I don't want to get into speculation about, oh, this wouldn't have blown up if so-and-so said it. But like, if
I think that's accurate, I don't think it would have.
You know what I mean? Like I said it, and Madison backed it up, and people, I'm honored for any respect I've garnered here in Buffalo, but like Madison is really like the one. Like Madison is one of the most respected voices in Buffalo, even after she's left Buffalo. So for her to get involved, I think people respect her to the point that they say, okay, like this is worth getting angry about. And it's like I said, we did it. We did that.
You did.
So-
And I think that had the story been written like that, I would have had a different opinion. My thought was that had they didn't explain your motives because they didn't know your motives. I don't know if anybody reached out to you or not, but the way it read to me, if I were, it was that if not for these Black journalists, this wouldn't be a thing, which can be read two different ways. Obviously, if you're on one side, we like, oh, like this guy, everybody still have their jobs, and this is a guy making a big deal out of nothing. Cancel culture. I can't believe we've gotten this far in the 54 minutes into the podcast. I think that's the first time that phrase cancel culture has been said. But there was, to me, Rob Lederman's explanation was the second half of the story. The whole first half of the story is Marcel Louis-Jacques said this and that, or on Twitter, or it was, to me, I didn't think it was, had your motivations been in there and your backstory been in there, then yes. But otherwise it was, this guy tweeted it and it went viral, and therefore now here we are. And so,
and
and I know a
that
lot of
actually
people
just
felt
kinda-
the same, but if you're the one who's, it's most important how you felt based on how it read. But if there's any way out there that the reporter is leaving the door open for anybody to think, and I like to think I'm a pretty reasonable consumer of media, of anybody to think that the onus was being put on these two reporters in particular. Now, I didn't say you and Madison were Black, but to be put on it and say these people did this, and it should not. And I think that that probably added to any people who were upset that you guys were shit stirrers.
Yeah, and maybe there could have been an addition that, like, I know it made reference to widespread outcry, but like, and I think they did include Mark Poloncarz, but to be honest, like, I've read so many article recaps that they kind of are blending together. I don't know which one said which, but like, maybe they could have included a couple other wide-reaching voices. I know Matt Perino spoke against it. Heather Prusak spoke against it. Jazz Williams. Like, there's been a lot of people locally who said something about it that, but I understand that, like, the most impactful were probably, with all due humility, the most impactful were probably myself and Madison. So I understood that. And like, and also just thinking about the second half of the story, apology. That's just why I just feel like tagging me in the photo is disingenuous. Like, creating the Twitter account to issue out that statement and apology, like, it's different than your run of the mill, I said something racist apology, I want to get better, I've reached out to XYZ, like, it's different for sure. But like, it is 11:57 on Friday. We're going on a year and 6 days after he told me my English was good on air, and I still never had a conversation with Rob Lederman. And I don't think it's my responsibility either to ask somebody to tell him to reach out to me. Like, I don't think it was my responsibility at the time to tell Rich, hey, tell Rob to talk to me. Like, it's not, that's on him. And so I see this still as more, let me save face than let me apologize. I don't know. I don't know if I'm even owed an apology, but like, I'd rather get one before I'm tagged in a statement on Twitter. So I guess I wanted to get that out as well. Like, I saw it because somebody sent it to me. Honestly, like, I didn't even, I've got notifications set that like new accounts like that don't usually register. And so I didn't see it when I was tagged in it, but somebody sent it to me and I noticed that, it said you at the bottom of the photo. And but I don't know, like, he apologized, and sure, it'd be cool to hear from Rich. It'd be cool to hear who, also for the record, Rich and I spoke on the day shortly after I posted it. I sent him the clip and I told him this is exactly what I was talking about last year. He's like, yeah, I know, like it was Rob again, like management is on it. I understand. I get it. But and it would be great to hear from Chris Klein, who again is just really, I mean, skating under the radar, Olympic figure skating under the radar with this, because while Bull seemed, I can believe it made him uncomfortable, and he's just like, oh, okay, like out of shock. But like, how far into your what black people do I know bag do you have to go to reach to pull Gayle King out and say, what about Gayle King's skin tone? Like, that's not like a, I know Gayle King is a prominent person, a prominent.
It's
woman,
a morning show.
like,
These are morning people. Maybe they, unlike us sports writers, they actually maybe pay attention to the morning shows.
I guess so. Either way, like, it's just like, it seemed like it was just so quick. She had somebody ready. She had something ready to advance the conversation. So I don't think she should be absolved from this either. Should she be fired? I mean, probably not, but like, just everybody wants to talk Rob, everybody wants to talk Rich, but like, I don't know what their dynamic is. I don't know what her dynamic is with the station, but like, she didn't have to do that. Pressure or not, like, she didn't have to say that. And also, it's not being talked about enough that Rob called his daughter a bitch on air, not 50 seconds after my original clip ended. I have it's like a full 2-minute clip. He calls her that for changing toaster settings, and that. So this isn't just all about race. This is a little, dash of misogyny in there too.
It's the old school comic. Probably, going back to the guy who goes on stage and get the spinning bow tie, or whatever, but the guy has never been funny. I've done the show. I mean, and he's always derailed it for me. I'm on because I would go on because I like Rich and I know Rich, and every comment was just, you try to ignore it. And it was a pain in the balls to have to deal with him and be on the show with Rich. But he's never been funny. He had a TV show on Channel 2 that was a disaster because it was so unfunny. And I think we're seeing the backlash from local comics on this, who are like, yeah, get rid of this guy. He's terrible. I mean, like, why? I'm curious as to why he had to be on the show, especially after you brought your problem up with him. If the word has to get around, that he's not funny.
It's not funny. Like, it's not funny. This isn't a comedy stage. So people saying if a comedian said it in a club, we wouldn't be. This wasn't a club. It's not a club. And for the record, comedians have had their careers derailed for what they've said in a comedy club. Hello, Michael Richards. But like, it doesn't matter. Like, I guess, like we've touched on significantly in this conversation, like, I feel like we made the appropriate moves. We made our concerns known. We let multiple prominent members of the station or show know. Like, it wasn't just he just made a mistake. It wasn't just some one-off mistake. Like, it's pattern behavior. And like, I'm sorry, like, I don't care what was funny in 1985. I don't care what passed for conversation in 1998 or even 2003. Like, just because something has been done before does not mean it is right. It doesn't mean it was right then. It doesn't mean it's right now.
You have to evolve.
So,
you have to evolve. I mean, if you're still, I'll leave it at that. You have to evolve in your thinking. You have to keep up with the times, or else this is what's going to happen to you. You get fired, or your whole show gets suspended. He may have cost 3 other people their jobs too.
I feel,
does that show survive?
Bad.
I don't know.
I do feel bad. Like I've said multiple times, like Rich was I had a good time golfing with him. We talked. I don't want to say buried the hatchet, but like we talked things through. We came to an understanding. We had a good time that day. Like I enjoyed being around him. I think he's a decent person. I wasn't calling for him to lose out on any side gigs. I didn't demand PSE remove him from the Sabres, in game. I didn't tell UB to do that. It wasn't never my intent. But and I feel for everybody at that station who maybe was appalled with what was said, because I don't know how this is going to affect the station. I assume, that Roswell and the Wester ads were pretty prominent. I assume that's a lot of money.
Should we disclose that you were on the board of directors at Roswell and that you had a big part of in them pulling their advertising?
Little do people know how I'm like just connected in this town. My wires run deep.
You were pulling the strings. Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you can come back with, it was a joke. And you're not performing for your audience in that role. You're performing for your current sponsors and future sponsors. And if you say something that has somebody yank their money away, then you fucked up.
Yeah. You're gonna go. When the money is, when the bag is impacted, your career will be too.
Jonah and I were in the car talking about this as this happened. We were driving somewhere and I didn't know everything. So I'm driving and Jonah's filling me in and he says, "Oh yeah, Roswell pulled out." And I said, "They're fucked. That's it. Like that's the end of it." And I said, at least one person's losing their job, probably all four. As soon as I heard that Roswell was out.
He said, "I'm probably going to get in trouble for this." And then he said it anyways. And then in the first comments, I didn't read his apology on Twitter. I couldn't find him on Twitter, but then he said, I'm horrified or whatever to hear this back. And it's always, this is not who I am. It's like, no, it clearly is. And you knew it. You knew you were going to get in trouble for saying it, and you said it anyway. So then you can't be horrified. Like, it's one or the other. Like you knew what was happening. He knew what was coming out of his mouth. They tweeted about the segment. It was premeditated. Honestly, I never even heard of this guy, to be honest with you, before this. And it made me almost like, when you posted that clip, I was like, man, like I have never turned this show on, but I almost wish I would have at some point, because what else has he said? Because I can't imagine, that was my first thought, is like, I can't imagine Marcel has a daily habit of listening to this show and this just happened to pop up. Like, I'm sure this got flagged somewhere else and came across his radar. Like, and I don't mean that as an insult to the show. I just literally have never heard of this guy. And I know Rich barely, but
that 97 Rock's target demographic is 28-year-old males of Haitian descent?
Certainly not.
I can guarantee you it is.
And if it was, they did not do a very good job of catering to that audience. But it's just like, yeah, I don't know, the whole, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to say it anyways. And then the response from him, the response from so many people of it, they're, like you said, things got done, things happened, advertisements were pulled, jobs were lost, rightfully so in Rob's case. And, businesses are going to make decisions that they want to make. And, that's on Rich for associating with it. That's on Rich for not saying anything.
We don't know that he didn't. We don't know that he didn't, or that he may have been handcuffed with this. That's my hope. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Or maybe he
did chimed in on the air and said,
he could have said
yes,
something immediately as it was
out of
happening.
Yes,
I also feel like, I feel like when we talked, when we talked the day of, like, he could have said something like, like, I've been trying to get him off the show. I've been trying to distance. So like, I don't know. I don't know the dynamic. I want to be very open with that. I don't know the dynamic of that station.
You say he didn't say that,
but he didn't say anything that made me think that anything has been said. Like I haven't heard from Bobby. Bobby still has my number. Like, didn't hear from Bobby afterward. So like, it's just like, and especially after hearing your story, it makes me think like, I wonder if my personal complaint to him ever went anywhere. Like, I wonder if it ever was shared. I wonder if it kind of fell on deaf ears.
Or you can say that, or that it had and it didn't go. That mine went. I didn't go to Rich. I went I went to management and nothing happened.
Like I'm talking specifically about going to Bobby, like telling Bobby, like, I don't need this. This was not acceptable. I wonder if I don't know.
I see.
I just don't know anymore.
Bobby
I just
doesn't
don't.
have the capacity to really understand that, I don't think. If you follow Bobby on Twitter, I mean, it isn't just the normal person Twitter, his personal Twitter. And when he was running the 1270 account, had maybe not racist, but out of control, outlandish things tweeted from those accounts all the time.
A lot of
His
pushback
personal
on
Twitter is
listeners and-
still his personal Twitter is still filled with conspiracy theories, like, you know, angry, you know, right wing, you know, and it's not to lump all right, but there's conspiracy stuff, there's nonsense, and it's still, you know, in the last couple of days, I don't know that this is like an education moment for him, at least not to this point. So, right, the idea that like you went to Bobby and told him that, and as you should feel like Bobby should look out for you because of everything you have done for Bobby, or all the times you went on Sully's show and Tim's show and all that. And same for, you know, all of us. And, you know, just as man to man, you would have hoped that he would take care of you there a little bit or have your back. And certainly doesn't sound like he did, which is disappointing.
Yeah, I feel a little set up. You know, I feel a little hung out to dry there. And like I said before, and you just alluded to, like, we don't need to do any of these. Like, we don't need to do.
We don't get paid for these things.
Any radio appearance. Like, it doesn't.
Although, I mean, I think the Buffalo News guys do. I think there's something baked into their pay but yeah, we do these things as favors to people.
It's fair. And like, there's a reason we do this for a living. I love talking sports. Like, so like I do this because I enjoy it. I don't do it because I have to. And like, I don't do it to be subjected to outdated stereotypes about what my English should sound like. Like, the biggest sports media company in the world thinks my English is good enough to pay me for it on a yearly basis. I don't need that validation from Rob Lederman, whether it's a joke or not. So
you don't need to you don't do that stuff to be a part of Rob's shitty act either. Like, you don't, you know, it's like, oh, let's bring this guy in so I can crack some jokes. Like, that's horseshit. And as has been mentioned multiple times, it's not funny. Like, and you're going on there to talk about the Bills. You're not going on there to be part of this guy's act. And I don't know, the guy, the more I learn about him the last few days, because like I said, I heard his name for the first time that day. Just nothing but it's made me not really even want to seek out whatever apology he wrote, because I don't even, you know, there's a lot more than, you know, a typed up message can fix here.
I haven't seen that specific apology, the one where he tagged you, Marcel, but I have seen him, you know, he did the rounds on channel 2, channel 4, whatever. Did he apologize to the show or to the, is he looking, is this, because everything just seems to be, this isn't me. What I would hope that he feels mortified that he jeopardized 3 other people.
Yeah. Why the hell am I?
And maybe the station, maybe the radio industry is in really bad shape, and you lose Roswell and West Her or whatever else, and maybe that they're just they'll come back eventually. But even a week's worth of bank from these people, I mean, this could really devastate the station, not just the show.
The station and the show and the co-host and the producer got what they deserved. If this has been a pattern of behavior going back several years, you know, Kyrie Demos, who writes for the Niagara Gazette, has tweeted several times the last couple of days about how he interned there and had problems with Rob on and off the air, things that he said that offended him and his family members. And I would assume Kyrie had brought that up to other people at the station and it got brushed under the rug or ignored. The station got what they deserved. They were put in this position. They set up permission structures for Rob to think it was his job on the show to make jokes like this. I think if you listen to the audio, it sounds like Rob thinks he's making everybody in the studio laugh, that this is something that maybe they talked about off the air or that he knew would get a response from at least his immediate audience. And I feel bad for Rich personally, because I do think he's a nice guy and maybe got caught in the crossfire there a little bit. but it is his show. He didn't apologize after the next commercial break. He didn't put something on Twitter saying, hey, I don't condone what Rob said. So everybody that is getting shrapnel and catching blowback from this deserves it.
And
Yeah,
I
like,
think what
it's really
Marcel
not
said
that
is an
hard.
important point, is like anybody who's directing blame at Marcel or Madison, like direct it at Rob. Rob's the one who opened his mouth and said this stuff. Like Marcel simply presented it to the world and let the world do with it what it would. And what it did was companies pulled advertising, companies removed him from his role. He said it. If he didn't say it, then none of this happens. Not it. Yeah, if Marcel doesn't post it, none of this happens, but trace it farther back. If he didn't say it, none of this happens. If stuff gets addressed a year ago, this stuff doesn't happen. He's the asshole here. Like, he's the one who did that.
Yeah.
Like, not, you
Like,
know,
all it did was-
Marcel posted a clip of that guy being an asshole, and people handled the asshole accordingly. Like,
all that happened
Pretty-
is you got put in front of a bigger audience. It's I don't know what numbers 97 Rock does, but I know I looked at that thing. I looked at the analytics of the tweet like yesterday morning or afternoon. It's got like 2 million impressions, and this is before the Halle Berry bump. Like all it did was, like, you know, isn't that your goal? Like, you just want a wider audience. I didn't add any commentary to it. It's just, here you go. Like, say that for the people in the back, but in Twitter form. And
everybody
That's an
knows who
excellent
they
point.
are.
I
now.
never thought of it that way.
Everybody knows who they are now. The problem is that's who they are.
exactly,
Be better.
it's not my fault, bro. Like, it's at the end of the day, I don't know what his apologies. I don't know, on a scale of I was wrong and I apologize for it, I'll try to do better, to my blood sugar was low. Like, this was somewhere in the middle, but it's still like, it's not like a, you know, I'm not ready to just say like, oh, hunky dory. And another issue, not to like keep dragging, you know, bringing up topic after topic after topic.
No,
But
this
like,
is we're supposed to get it all out here, and then you don't have to worry about it anymore.
but therein lies a massive under talked about aspect of these post-offensive apologies, is then it's just filled with people accepting an apology who weren't being apologized to. Like, for example, I think it's Kyle Larson, the NASCAR driver who just thought his mic was off and said the N-word during like an iRacing event a year or so ago. He apologized for it. And if you look at the people accepting the apology, it's people who weren't being apologized to, people who were not, people who, you know, the N-word does not categorize. And so like, it makes me kind of chuckle a bit when you see his apology, and then like, white man, white woman, white man, white man are accepting the apology. You know what? This is, I think that this is sincere. You know what? It's okay, man. Like, you admitted that you did something wrong, and with all due respect, give a fuck what you think about his apology. It's not to you. He's not talking to you, as far as I'm concerned. And that was my thing with Jake Fromm. Like, people telling me like, is it really your job as a reporter? No, but it's my, you know, prerogative as a Black man, as a person who he was referring to in those texts, whether or not I accept the apology or not. Like, that's how I'm speaking. And so you know, people need to maybe realize that not everything is meant for you. Like, not every apology needs your, you know, acceptance. It needs your Caesar, your thumbs up, thumbs down. Like, we sometimes just kind of maybe kick back and let the people who they're apologizing to process it. And I think that's the stage I'm not going to speak for. I'm not, you know, the emperor of Black people. Like, I can speak for myself. Yeah, that's a old South Park reference. Jesse Jackson is not the emperor of Black people. He told my dad he was, but like, either way, I'm not the I'm not the spokesperson. That's where I'm at, like at a processing stage. So like, I don't know. Just really wanted to address that. If anybody has questioned or wondered why I hadn't said anything about his apology publicly, like, it's because my knee-jerk reaction is that it's BS, but I want to be mature. And so I'm we're thinking about it.
Before we let you go, I just want to see if Serena Williams has gotten involved or
Oh God, I've left
anybody
my
else.
phone. I've checked it every now and then, but it's been face down on the couch for a while.
Yeah, she hasn't tweeted, and she retweeted something a day ago, and then she hasn't tweeted for 3 days. So maybe she pokes her head up and joins the discussion here now that Hallie, your girl Hallie, is
That's
decided to chime in.
unreal. That once again, unreal that it got that far. Because yeah, just this is just little old Buffalo, yeah.
You think she'd retweet your Micah Hyde Jordan Poyer safety tandem feature from a few
Hopefully she
months
read
back?
it. That's was one of my favorite pieces I wrote here. So hopefully she gave that a read too, just to say like, you know, let's support each other. I've seen plenty of her movies. Maybe she's read a couple of my articles and they even out. But either way, like just wild. Probably gonna put go do not disturb for a little while. Might hop on Warzone later and just get mad at a completely different entity, that get angry at some 13-year-old in West Virginia. But whatever takes your mind off.
What else do we want to talk about, fellas? Anything else to add? Or Jonah, you usually have something that you dithered on whether or not bringing up that you tell me after the fact.
No dithering today.
No? Okay. Well, Marcel, whoa, look at me. I'm all nervous. I'm nervous as a schoolgirl trying to sign off here. Thank you for doing this. I thought that, we talked yesterday on the phone. You didn't have to do this. So you didn't mention to me before you agreed that you felt obligated in some way because we had beef. We had pseudo beef yesterday. But I thought it was a worthwhile conversation. And I don't really know if there are a lot of places you can go and have a media conversation in Western New York and just talk about an issue like this. For as long as you want and get it out there, no commercial breaks or editing or whatever. And I just thought it would be good is a discussion that a lot of people are having on Twitter in limited characters. It takes how many tweets it would have taken to get everything off your chest that you did here in an hour and 15 minutes. So let's just get it out there and people know where you stand. I can add what my experience has been and hopefully give people a better picture as to what you're dealing with. I can only empathize. I can't sympathize because as a white man, I can only get so far until then I have to guess. I can do a decent job, but when you have empathy, you can make a good guess, but I can't ever fully know how things like this make you or anyone else feel. So I could come on and Jonah and Matthew and I could go on and have a discussion about our time at Cumulus, but no, I mean, who gives a shit? So thanks for doing it.
And like I said, like it's in part, just in case people thought there was some burgeoning beef, like this gave us a chance to, let inquiring minds know that we'd talked it through without doing the obnoxious, Tim called me, we had a good conversation, everything's all good. Like, the fuck, this isn't my space. But no, and hearing your experience with the station or with the company, I felt like, yeah, this is a good forum. This is a good forum. It's not me chasing, like a couple TV stations have asked me to go on. I'm not doing that. Like, just a way to,
again,
it's therapeutic is the word.
This is proof that you're not chasing attention.
Yeah.
This is proof.
But no, I thought, like I said, good conversation. We'll let people know that this wasn't just coming from a place of canceling and torches and anger and mob justice. Like, sometimes these things are a long-standing issue that alternative methods were not adhered to or were not paid attention to, taken seriously. So hopefully clears the air for people, and we can build we can build.
The well-spoken Marcel Louis-Jacques.
The wonderful English, you know,
Here he is.
California
Proof.
immigrant.
If you hadn't heard him on that show a few months ago, now this is proof that
I can
ESPN
string
made a
3
good
words
hire,
together.
which we weren't sure. ESPN's track record in this town wasn't too swift.
I think as long as my name just wasn't Rodak, I think people would have been fine. But,
Let's keep in mind, I was the predecessor to Rodak, so that's they were on strike too. They were
0-2 count.
Yeah,
you were you could have you were
just trying to get on base there, and just trying to slap something off of get
opposite
runners
field.
on here.
All right. Thanks for this, Marcel. Hopefully it was worthwhile for you. If not, I've failed. But it's we'll keep discussing it if we have to. Let's hope. We're probably going to have to, unfortunately. But anyways, it's my awkward way of saying thank you. And I'm sure I'll be seeing you at a news conference soon.
Absolutely. Let's hope.
Matthew, Jonah, till next time. Tim Graham and Friends is brought to you by CTBK, CPAs and business consultants. CTBK is a leading accounting firm with a growing team of accountants and business consultants with roots in Amherst, New York. CTBK pairs every project with a focus on a human connection between its team and the client. For assurance, accounting, taxes, litigation support, and advice on mergers and acquisitions, CTBK is available and ready to solve any issue your business faces. For a consultation or to request a quote, call 716-630-2400. Again, that's 716-630-2400. CTBK, over a quarter century of proven accounting and business excellence for Western New York and beyond.